The New Year cheer is still in the air, and the Minister of Higher Education tries his luck at some of the New Year games. Today is also a memorable day for the world. It has been 100 years since the world's worst peacetime maritime tragedy. Yes, the Titanic tragedy commemorates its centenary anniversary today. We will recollect on the events that unfolded on that day as News First digs deep into the story. Join me, Arundhati Mudannayak, on Weekend Primetime News right now for the details of these stories and much more. A very good evening to all of you. Let's start off with a look at the stories making headlines tonight. Sri Lanka defeats Chinese Taipei in an Asian Five Nations rugby match. Experts emphasize that Sri Lanka should focus attention on the risk of earthquakes when constructing buildings. An Indian parliamentary delegation to arrive in Sri Lanka tomorrow. Almost 400 prisoners escaped from a prison in Pakistan after it was attacked by militants. The Sri Lankan team recorded a massive victory today in the Asian Five Nations rugby tournament. The Sri Lankan team was headed by a member of the first family, the president's second son, Yoshitha Rajapaksa. The Lankans defeated Chinese Taipei 36-8. More details on this story on Sports Fast. President Mahinda Rajapaksa says that vocational training programs can be initiated centered around places of worship. The president expressed this view at a function held at the historic Navakelagama Purana Rajamahawihara in Nakulugamuwa today.
ඔය දවසට සිල් ගන්නට අනහන්ට එන ස්ථානයක් බවට පත් වෙනවට වඩා
The monks said that a program more beneficial than a dharmashala, where Sil can be observed on prayer days, was necessary, and therefore the vocational training program was commenced at the temple. We constantly hope in state institutions for our own buildings, so I hope that this example of making use of such a facility through a place of worship and the advice of the monks will be taken to heart by government parliamentarians and ministers, and especially by public officials.
President Mahinda Rajapaksa arrived at Carlton House in Tangol for the oil anointing ceremony. This New Year custom was performed under the auspices of Chief Sanganayaka of the Southern Province and Chancellor of the University of Ruhuna, Venerable Pallansara Sumanajoti Pera.
Anointing oil at the auspicious time is an important custom of the Sinhala New Year. The auspicious time for anointing of oil for the New Year was set at 7:08 a.m. today.
Prime Minister D.M. Jayaratne presided at the state oil anointing ceremony which took place in Kandy today. Chief Prelate of the Askiri chapter of the Siam Nikaya, Most Venerable Udugama Sri Buddharakita Thera, and the Anunayaka of the Malwatu chapter, Most Venerable Dimbul Kumbure Vimala Dhamma Thera, were also present at the ceremony. A large number of devotees arrived at the Bellanvilla Rajamahawihara today for the oil anointing custom. The elephants at the Vihara were also anointed with oil. Meanwhile, the elephants at the Pinnawala Elephant Orphanage were anointed with oil in keeping with the customs of the Sinhala New Year. A pachyderm by the name of Manika was the first to be anointed with oil. Several ministers and parliamentarians, along with the Deputy Indian High Commissioner to Sri Lanka, Arumuham Nadaraja, were present at the occasion. These are visuals captured of the oil anointing ceremony that took place at the National Zoological Gardens in Dehiwala.
Minister of Higher Education S.P. Dissanayake participated at a New Year function held today in Udunuwara. Our cameras captured some of the entertaining events that unfolded there. Well, time now to take a look at the newspaper cartoon of the day, which was selected from among today's English newspapers.
Wherever you are. Truly an international news network. News First is now available real time on the web. Visit www.newsfirst.lk from anywhere in the world. Watch news live. News First, taking Sri Lanka to the world.
Emeritus Professor at the Peradeniya University, Kapila Dahanayaka, says since an earthquake could occur in any part of the world, Sri Lanka cannot ignore the risk of an earthquake. Meanwhile, the National Building Research Organisation stated that Sri Lanka should pay attention towards constructing buildings that could withstand the impact caused in the event of an earthquake. However, the Geological Survey and Mines Bureau says that prior warnings cannot be issued on earthquakes.
Now let me recollect the manner in which an 8.6 magnitude earthquake struck off the coast of northern Sumatra in Indonesia. Well, several aftershocks have been reported in the area following this massive earthquake, and geologists say that this is an unusual occurrence. The latest aftershocks were reported today, measuring 6.2 and 5.9 on the Richter scale of northern Sumatra. Now, how would Sri Lanka be affected by this seismic activity taking place in the Indian Ocean region? 30 aftershocks have been reported from northern Sumatra, while another 20 aftershocks have been reported from the northern Indian Ocean.
Discuss earthquakes. The current thinking among geologists internationally is that an earthquake can occur anywhere, anytime without notice. In the recent past, so there had been an earthquake in Sri Lanka in 1614, according to Portuguese archives reports, when 2,000 people had died in the Colombo fort area. Be aware that earthquakes can occur in Sri Lanka, in addition to those occurring in the Indonesia region.
Although prior warnings can be issued on tsunami, volcanic eruptions, floods and landslides, the Geological Survey and Mines Bureau says the occurrence of earthquakes cannot be predicted.
There's no technology where we can predict an earthquake. Of course, in Sri Lanka we experience such tremors. What we experienced on last couple of days back. Then once we experience such a tremor or such a vibration, what next? Best is to evacuate the building.
Do we have the right mechanism in place to act in the event of an earthquake? We are only in charge of the coordination process. The Disaster Management Center is not involved in overlooking technical matters. We obtain the necessary machinery, resources and manpower from other institutions. Now, we were able to witness the manner in which different countries in the world adopt the latest technology when constructing buildings so that it would withstand the impact during earthquakes. Reinforced steel bars are used to reduce the impact. Japan is at the forefront of seismic technology. Buildings in Japan as well as on the west coast of the United States often rest on rubber shock absorbers. So how important is it for Sri Lanka to adopt this technology when constructing buildings? People were able to get a first-hand feel of the vibration and shaking of buildings due to the recent earthquake. If buildings were shaken due to this earthquake, I believe that an earthquake of a larger magnitude could definitely cause an even bigger impact on buildings. The National Building Research Organization considers the risk of landslides when constructing buildings on mountainous areas. Accordingly, in the future, we will have to pay attention towards the risk posed by earthquakes when constructing houses, bridges and other buildings, and we will have to consider the manner in which the building should be constructed to withstand any possible impact. Japan experiences tremors frequently and have adopted the latest technology for their construction industry. I believe that a set of guidelines will have to be introduced in the future and the stipulated conditions will have to be satisfied.
Commissioner of the Sri Lanka Human Rights Commission, Dr. Pratibha Mahanamaheva, says that any issue that may crop up in the future can be solved using a universal periodic review report, irrespective of the resolutions adopted by the Human Rights Council. He further stated that Sri Lanka would hand over the review report to the UN Human Rights Council on the 23rd of this month.
Basically, Sri Lanka has to submit the Universal Periodic Review Report on 23rd April 2012 for the period of 2012 to 2016. Once we submit the report, it will be reviewed on 22nd October 2012 to November 5th 2012. If you can submit a very balanced report and also most of the commitments what we have done up to now and future how we are going to promote human rights and also country and also the government commitment to human rights, this is a very good chance to submit a very good report on universal periodic review, and then we can most of the time solve many problems in future.
UNP parliamentarian Dr. Jala Jayawardena, who was taken ill while in England, is continuing to receive treatment at the East Surrey Hospital. The parliamentarian had taken ill while at the Gatwick airport, waiting to depart on a flight to Milan, Italy. Parliamentarian Dr. Jala Jayawardena spoke to News First about his health condition.
Following the Uganda sessions, I came down to London to meet the Honorable Dr. William Seja, the Secretary General of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, on behalf of the opposition. On the 12th, I was on my way to Milano, Italy, to address the UMPs, Sri Lankan UMPs in Italy, Milano. Unfortunately, at the Gatwick Airport in London, I have collapsed and I was brought to the hospital at Sussex, and I have been treated and investigated by the medical specialist and the cardiologist. At the moment, I am at the intensive cardiology unit. They are investigating me.